This is the application. This is the website, same website as last time around. Information has been updated, and Ellie walked us through that already. So you can access the application from here through Apply Now or by selecting the language that you prefer. So when you select Apply Now, the application shows up in all the languages that it's available. You can click on the guidelines to get the program overview, the policy, the timeline, right? This portion shows up in all the applications throughout the application process. So there's that. So I'm going to complete the application in English. You can sign in if you already created an account. So that's what I'm going to do. But to sign up, it's an email, a password, a first name, and a last name. This time around, people, it's not required for you to go back to your email and verify your account. That created a lot of confusion and a unnecessary step last time around. So this time around, that's no longer required, but it is a best practice for security reasons. So I already created an account, so I'm going to log in. Again, you can use the same email for multiple applications. Okay. So the program overview, the same information shows up again. These are the eligibility questions. They are the same questions that we asked last time around, but they are phrased different because I know that that was one of the feedbacks that we received, that the way that the questions were framed were a little confusing. So we tried our best to incorporate that feedback. So one of the eligibility requirements is to live in the state of Washington. So yes, we are defining significantly affected by COVID in this question. So that can mean losing income, employment, a reduction of hours, contracting COVID, caring for a family member who contracted COVID, right? So these are the eligibility questions. I'm going to fail them on purpose so we see what happens. Did you receive the federal stimulus check, right? Have you received unemployment? Yes. And then are you at least 18 years old? So if you, based on your answers on eligibility, if you are non-eligible, it will not let you move forward in the application. This is a message that will come up. But you also have you can also go back and try again and enter the right questions to get to the application. So if people are having, if they're calling you and they're like, hey, it's not letting me go beyond the first questions, that means that the way that people answer the questions deems them ineligible. So now I'm gonna actually get to the application. So yes, I live in the state of Washington. Yes, I've been impacted by COVID in one of the many ways or in all of them. No, did not receive the stimulus check. No, I do not qualify for unemployment and are not eligible. And yes, I'm over the age of 18. So then this will get us to the application itself. So for the basic contact information, it's really important that we write the name of the individual that to match the identity documents that they are presenting to us, right? So in my driver's license, I don't have my middle name. I only have Brenda Rodriguez Lopez. So that's what I would enter. So making sure that the name that's you enter here matches whatever their identity document shows. Below, we have a list of 13 different documents that community can present to verify their identity. Um, so we gotta select one of them. For the most part, the most common one is an ID or a driver's license, but it could be a passport from any country. The identity documentation doesn't have to be from the state of Washington, because for this part, we are only ensuring that the name matches the ID. So it could be an out-of-state ID, it could be a passport from any country, it could be a consulate card. So this, for the first document, it doesn't have to be from the state of Washington. So you can choose a file in any of these formats. I'm gonna use this image, right? For this part, we are asking now to verify the residency. So do you have a residence address, right? It has to be a physical address. It cannot be a PO box. If you answer yes, right, then you type in your address here. If you answer no, which we know a lot of our community doesn't, is houseless, right? We can enter the contact information of someone and their address that they can receive mail on their behalf. This could be an organizational address. So it could be Brenda, and I would put here the Colectiva address if that's where this community member will receive mail. But if they do have their residence address, then you just enter their address here. I should probably not do my address. Just gonna do a random one. So once you start typing the address, everything else fills automatically. So I can't change the city or the zip code, right? So we gotta make sure that this address is correct. Now for this portion, it is the same list of documents that you can present as the previous one, but for this list, you do need that documentation to have a Washington State residency. I completed my brother's application this morning, for example, right? And his ID didn't match the residence where he currently lives. So he got a signed letter from his landlord. Many of us provide services to community members. As an organization, you can complete um, a form, a letter on behalf of someone. So you would enter their name, you would enter the address, the physical address of the community member, you would enter your name, you would sign it, date it, phone number, and then if you're a case manager, if you are whatever your title or the relationship to the applicants, you would write it here. This counts as the proof of residency if the community member has no documents, the proof that have a physical address from the state of Washington. But you can upload anything from an ID to a consulate card with the Washington address, to bank statements, to bills or letter from any social services, from a representative of a place of worship, yourself as an organizational member. You enter the person's date of birth in this format with the slash. It's important to enter a phone number where community can receive a text message. Again, if this person doesn't have a phone number where they can receive a text message, you can enter your own, or you can enter a designated number within your organization. But we just gotta make sure that we give this person their ID number at the end. And it means that you will be notified about their application status. So there has to be a way for you to know that when you receive a notification for Brenda, you have a way to let Brenda know that they have been approved or denied, or they need additional documentation. Email address, it can be the same address in multiple applications. And again, you will receive a confirmation email, the ID number, and any updates through email as well. So then we go into additional information. What is the status of the household? If they don't have a permit, do not live in a permanent place, then we know from the previous question that they have somebody else that the mail would go to. So there is an option for that if you're a renter or homeowner. And then we ask more questions around the impact of COVID, right? Have you fallen behind rent or mortgage? Are you a single parent or caregiver? The primary source of income for your household. They're pretty straightforward questions. The piece where last time around we had a lot of confusion from community members and where we really want to make sure that we're taking our time this time around. As we know, there is a new requirement where the person has to be at 250 or below the federal poverty level. And there, you can look up online this chart. We are also sharing this chart with you all so that you can help somebody not only explain, but understand what that means. So we provide a description of what it means here and what it doesn't mean, right? So a household is everyone that lives with that person and they are responsible financially or share expenses. Um, so how many children live and are in the household under the age of 18, right? You enter the amount there. How many adults aside from yourself, right? If it's just me, it's zero, but if I have a partner, have more adults, then whatever that number is. And we are asking how much the income in the last 30 days and the income in the last year. Again, the questions are intended so that we have an idea of the impact, the recent impact of COVID and the impact of COVID in the last year on this individual. So we don't use any symbols, any commas or periods, just enter the full amount. So how much did you earn in the last 30 days after taxes? Um, whatever the number is, and then how much income did you and your household earn after taxes in the last year? We can base this off of their income tax, or if they don't file for taxes right, we'll have to add up those numbers. And we know that for a lot of our community, income hasn't been steady. So what they made in 1 month it wasn't the income that they made the other one. So we'll just have to like really sit with people and ensure that we are, to the best of our ability, coming up with the number. The following question is, did you lose income or have significant reduction in work hours from March of last year to now? And then we ask the question about high risk. Are they themselves high risk or anyone in their household? And then we define high risk better this time around because there was a lot of confusion last time around about what that meant. So now we provide examples and did a better job at explaining what it means. We asked, have people contracted COVID? Has that individual contracted COVID? Or have they cared for a family member who has contracted COVID? Then we go into demographic questions. Anything with the circle is you can only select one of those answers. Anything with the square, you can select as many as they apply. So once you select the race or ethnicity, right, then the follow-up question goes more in depth. So in my case, Latin America, and I am Mexican, right? So we can enter here. If you select other, it asks you to write in your ethnicity. Questions about gender. Do you identify as transgender? And then what is the primary language that you speak at home? And this is data, right? That just helps us understand better the community that we are serving. What job sector did you work in between March of 2020 to present? We also know that a lot of our community many of them are not, have switched from job sectors throughout the year. So if they haven't worked at a job sector consistently, select the one that they have worked at the longest. And you have the option of other and entering what that job sector is. And then we are asking, have you previously applied to the relief funds? This answer, the answer to this question will not impact their chances of receiving funding. We just want to understand for purposes of outreach, right? Like, are we really reaching first-time applicants? Is it the same people that applied last time around? And then how many of those community members that applied the last time around received or didn't receive funding? So then if you select yes, we ask if you received a grant. If you select no, then there's no follow-up question to that. So now we are in the payment options. This time around, we have 3 forms of payment that people can choose from. The first one is check. Then we still have a prepaid debit card. And what's new is that we now have direct deposit. So we provide an explanation about receiving payments 2 to 3 weeks after June 30th. And then the method that they'll receive the payment, and for checks, they are voided after 90 days. Um, when the checks are voided after 90 days, Scholarship Junkies does reach out to folks just to make sure that they receive the check, or maybe when there's an issue with the name. So there is follow-up even after the checks are voided, because the goal is for people to catch their check. So if we select check for this form, for this portion for the payment, you can enter a PO box for the check and for the debit card. And so you can enter a PO box, or you can choose a mailing address that's different from the address that you provided for your residency. So that is important to know. So for check, pretty straightforward. The name that the check has to be made payable to. The name that the check has to be made payable to also can be different from the name of the individual that is applying. For the prepaid card, same as for the name that the prepaid card should be mailed to. And again, you can enter a PO box or a different mailing address than the one you previously entered. And then for direct deposit, name of the account holder, name of the bank, and then here's a picture of the information that we need and where they can get it from. So after you enter the payment information for certification, right? We mentioned earlier that we're only asking for documents that proves identity and residency. Everything else, right? At the end, you get to self-certify. So this is what we were talking about. Since I'm completing the application on my own, I would choose I am the applicant. And here is where I certify that I have submitted information that's true and correct and to the best of my knowledge. So I would select that. All of us here are going to be completing applications on behalf of other people. So we would select I am the preparer. We would still certify that we completed this application to the base of the knowledge, of our knowledge with the information that the person told us. And we will write our name. So please write your full name. And we are asking if the application was completed in any other language other than the one that the applications are in, which is 5 of them. And this also helps us understand outreach. And then, how can we, if we were to do this again, what new languages we would need to have in this application. So yes, no. And then the last question is, did a community organization help you with this application? If yes, you can scroll down, you can type, right, and see what comes up, select the organization. There is an option for other, so you can type the community partner, the name of the organization here. Um, all these questions are going to help us follow up with the person who submitted this application if needed. Last time, we had a lot of volunteers, a lot of organizational partners that were completing applications. A community member would call us or contact Scholarship Junkies with questions about their application, and it was really hard to track down what lady from the one church at the one place helped this person. So that's why we're asking questions about who completed this application so that we can contact that person directly and that we have an idea of who this community member is talking about. So if your organization is not listed here, please type it here. And if it is listed there, please select it. Once you answer all the questions, which I didn't, you will submit apply and your application goes in. Once you apply, you will receive a text message and an email. And the text message and email will go to whatever email and number you enter in the application. So for my brother's application, right, I received, hi Brenda, we got your application. I got his ID number and I entered his email. So he also has access to this application ID number. So once you select apply, you're done with this application. This application also saves throughout the process. You can save the draft. If you save a draft, you cannot complete a new application. So make sure that you are saving the draft only if you really have to, because you will not be able to start a new application. You have to submit each application in order to start a new one. That's something new with this new platform. Any questions, reactions, comments, anything that I should clarify regarding the application? And yes, if we could stop recording now.
Yeah, that'd be really helpful so we can all come back to the camera. Hey, Ellie, can we stop recording?